everyone. Bob Mehsikomer here. We got kind of a bad start there for a second, but we got it all figured out. Hey, before we go too far here tonight, there's a couple of things I want to say. This insanity that's going on out in Seattle, I think we as fishermen, I think we can solve it. I really do. Let's get a flotilla of boats together and let's all drag our boats out to Seattle and show these people there's better things to do in this world rather than protest. We have a great, great country we live in here. We've got all kinds of freedoms, all kinds of resources. It didn't come for nothing. It wasn't free. People before us worked for it. People after us will work for it. Gosh almighty, let's be honest about it, folks. We live in the greatest country on the planet, the United States of America. I know we got Canadian friends up there that are going to say theirs is, and we've got friends down in the Mexican area that are going to say theirs are. But the truth of the matter is, from my perspective, it doesn't get any better than what we are right here in the United States. So that being said, let's get that flotilla together. Let's head out there and see if we can get these folks on the water and give them some entertainment. Something to do other than to chalk up the streets and just quite frankly act like hoodlums. That being said, I've got a little note I want to make here to listeners. Those of you who have followed me and my show over the decades know there's a person that's very dear to me. He's very close to me, and he likes to do things that I don't like to do, and one of those is ride motorcycles, okay? Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because my brother Mike, most of you guys out here know him as Uncle Buddy, took a bad fall. He had a bike accident, and they airlifted him to the hospital, the Mayo in Eau Claire, and let's just everybody chime in on the comments, give him some well wishes, give him some prayers, do some little things like that, and let's see if we can pull him through. I'm telling you right now, he got banged up. When you come off a Harley Davidson, it's not a perfect or a pretty sight. That said, he was on a very organized ride. He just happened to catch a little bit of a patch on the road with some sand or some grit or whatever on it, and well, the end result put him in the hospital, and it's ugly. It really is. So that being said, folks, we have a comment section here tonight. I texted him before we went on and told him, hey, listen to the show, watch the show. You guys send him some kudos, send him some love. There's a comment section to do that. Again, everybody that knows Uncle Buddy knows he will give your heart. He'll give everything he's got to make sure that whatever you're doing is done right. And if you can't do it, he will help you do it. Quite frankly, you can't speak higher of somebody than you can my brother Mike. But that being said, let's bring up our first guest tonight, folks. We have got Michael Austin on. Now, earlier on this show, I said in the description that we were going to have a young man that wanted to become a pro fisherman. He is from the state of Washington. He has not picked up his phone, so we cannot connect with him. So we got Michael pulled up from number 2 to the number 1 spot on tonight's show. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure, absolutely. You are a muskie fisherman. Now, we all know what that means. Muskie fishermen are of a different breed. Let's face it, they really are a totally different breed.
Oh, yeah, we're a little bit crazy. It's I don't know how to describe what muskie fishermen are, but we're definitely a different breed.
Yeah, I'm going along with that. No question about it. You have a little bit of a portfolio. You're a younger person, which I think is what the whole theme of this show was going to be tonight. We had the young man that we said that was in Washington that wasn't able to get to the phone. I don't think he realized the time difference between there and here. But that being said, the whole tempo of tonight's show was young people and getting young people involved in the sport. And when I say you're young, you're considerably younger than me. How does that sound?
That's true. Yeah.
Did you just call me an old man?
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
Well, I would had I had the opportunity. Tell us a little bit about Michael and what you're doing, what you're trying to do, and where you hope to go in the future, because we want to talk about at least your guide service, and then we're going to get into some of the tactics and some of the techniques that you're using. But let's start off. Let us know who you are.
Yeah, so My name's Mike Lawson. I'm from just east of the Twin Cities. I'm from Somerset, Wisconsin. Grew up fishing like every other good Midwestern kid, bass, boppies, and backwater and stuff. That kind of started the drive to go fishing all the time. And then 8th grade, my grandparents took me to Canada, and it was a fly-in lake. There was only 2 cabins around there, ours and a DNR cabin. So pretty good walleye fishing, you know. Every time you drop down, there's a fish. Drop down again, there's a fish. And then we started getting these big pike calls. And all we had up there was our bass rods. We're like, oh, there might be some good pike in there. Let's try it. So we brought up some like nets and everything. And then we were dragging windy rigs on some rocks and reeled one up to check for bait, and in came this giant pike, like biggest pike I've ever seen at this point in my life. So we started throwing.
How big do you think they were?
High 40s. Like,
wow.
These fish have never been touched by anything. Like, it's. I don't even know if I'll ever see a pike that big unless I go back and get redemption.
You were living the dream, weren't you?
For an 8th grader, yes, I was. It was something special. So, I ended up hooking into one. He thought it was a snake. Gave my dad the rod, and he pulled it up. He goes, "That's a fish." And it just went down like a submarine. Snapped a 50-pound test, like nothing. Just took the inhaler, bucktail, and they were nuts. They were everywhere. I wish I would have had to do that one now. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I had no chance.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I've been there, done that. Don't let me interrupt. Keep it going.
No, you're good. That got me hooked onto thinking there's bigger fish than just largemouth bass and the occasional, hammer handle pike. So that kind of started to drive to, look around here for that. And we don't have pike like that around here. Like, biggest pike we'll probably see is low 40s, and that would be an absolute monster for where I live. And
yeah, it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of my dad's coworkers was actually a Muskie guy. My dad started talking to him about it. And he goes, "Well, there's a bunch of good lakes up by, like Yellow Lake and that Siren area." So we went out there and fished with him, and that was fun. Saw some. That really got into my head, and then that was in 2014, and then I didn't catch my first muskie until 2016. So talk about a grind.
Reality check.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not like flying lakes in Canada. That was 2 years of time I will never get back, is what I'll say.
Yeah, you will. You'll get it back. You haven't lost.
Yeah, it's paid off. It's been pretty good. It's not, kind of paving your own path is kind of rewarding. It's always a good time learning. Yeah, so then 2016, I caught my first fish, 35-incher in figure 8, went around 4 times. Had really no idea what I was doing. I was watching the fish was somewhat dumb, I guess. Because that got the blood pumping, and I honestly can't even remember exactly what I did. All I know is I caught in figure 8. Muskie blackout, I guess.
Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
So.
Oh, goodness. So you've been bit.
Yeah. I've been bit. I'm turning 21 tomorrow, and that was when I was 13. No, 15 is when I caught that first one.
Wow. That's pretty good. So tell us a little bit about your guide service. Tell us about what you're doing, because you're striking out. You're striking out on your own here to cut your teeth and play in the game and teach people in the process. A good guide knows how to teach as well as how to find them. Are you one of those good guides?
I would like to think so. I've taken 5 people, just friends of friends, and I can't say we've struck it out too much. Taught them pretty well, and first guy I took out, he caught 2, one in the figure 8. That was a good day. Took another guy out. He ended up catching a 46 in the figure 8, and got my girlfriend into it. She hooked a 3 fish now, and she's hooked. So she's probably the one.
You know, getting the girlfriend involved is going to be costly, right? You need now 5 more rods and reels. You need at least 2 times as many lures, and eventually you're probably going to have to get a bigger boat.
The way I look at that is that all benefits me. I just get to buy more musky stuff, and there's no questions asked.
She's not going to argue with you, huh?
No. She doesn't argue with me in the first place on much. She knows it's my passion, and she dives head first into it with me.
That's awesome. It is.
Yeah. So I died in St. Croix County and Polk County, and we're probably 20 miles east of the Twin Cities and Metro Lakes. And those lakes out there are known for really big fish. There's 2,000 boom out there. When the cowgirl came out, you couldn't do anything wrong with it. It's big fish. A lot of people think big fish, they go Minnesota. And I'm kind of trying to prove that it's not just Minnesota or Green Bay. They think big fish in Wisconsin, they think Green Bay. That's not the only lakes that have big fish. There's a lot of big fish in these smaller lakes.
We owned a resort on a lake called Big McKenzie for near 40 years. And the biggest fish that we put our hands on in Big McKenzie was just shy of 55 inches. We had a tournament fish when we did the WPMA event there that was 54, I think, or maybe 54 and a half, and that's measured on a bump board by a judge boat. So there's no BS. I mean, it was what it was. It was big. We've seen big fish in there. So, yeah, there's really big fish in Wisconsin. I could name a few lakes. I probably shouldn't, but why don't we let you tell us a little bit about your techniques. How do you prefer to get them? How do you prefer to teach people how to catch fish with you in the boat?
Yeah, I think bucktail fishing. I know a lot of people are seeing bucktails, big blue bucktails that are working. They're throwing too much, but with people thinking that, they go to smaller bucktails. But you can still throw big bucktails and catch fish. And bucktails and spinnerbaits, I think, besides topwater, the easiest thing to get people used to that are brand new to the sport, because you can't really fish them wrong. You know, as long as you keep the blades, those fish are keyed in if they're ready to eat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We got good cabbage on our lakes, a lot of good points that come out that are deep cabbage, and they, as long as they're not getting weeds every cast, that's why we fish a lot of deep cabbage and stuff, 15 feet. It just, I don't want to say it comes easy, but it's not picking weeds every cast. It's still musky fishing, but it's not dredging the fish out of the weeds. It's pretty forward on everything.
So you're pulling a lot of blades. You're pulling some blades. You're pulling some top water. Are we doing any cranking? Are we getting out on the edges and doing any cranking?
Yep, and probably late June, early July. So coming up, we got a good crank. Like, we'll fish 16 to 20 feet of water with the legs and lures 22 long. And last year in 12 hours, we had 27 fish up to the boat.
Whoa!
Some of them were pushing those high numbers.
Whoa, those are big and plentiful.
Oh, yeah, and it was on one weed flat. We got to go on some other weed flats, but that one weed flat, I don't know why, but that 12 hours, you couldn't fish that bait wrong.
Yeah, you got into a pack of them.
Everywhere.
Yeah, you got into a pack of them. Yeah. And when that happens, it's phenomenal. It really is. It's an absolute... Yeah, it really is.
It's on.
I've had friends of mine that we've been shooting shows with all over, and on many occasions you'll pull up to a place and you've chosen the right lure, you've chosen the right location, you've gotten there assumingly the right time, and whoa, Katie barred the door. They're all over, and that's the kind of thing that makes magic. It really does. That's the kind of thing to it.
Yeah, that's the only way you can describe it. Pure magic.
It is.
I don't know. It's like the sun and the moon align, and you just click, and everything clicks at the right time, and it's some of the best fishing.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and that's the kind of fishing that will get others hooked. And when you're guiding people and you're comfortable enough changing out those presentations, You mentioned a crankbait you were throwing. You could take a Grim Reaper spinnerbait. And by the way, just so the audience knows, I know of something Grim Reaper's working on right now that, boy, oh boy, when you guys get a taste of it, holy smokes, look out. Grim Reaper's on the edge of something here. But when you get a chance to pull those kind of blades and those kind of baits into those cabbage, especially that thick cabbage, you can thump it and get those fish to respond. Oh, they'll come out of nowhere. I mean, nowhere.
Oh, yeah, they just fly. They turn on the afterburners. You can't get away from them even if you try.
Yeah, and and they'll accelerate to 40 miles an hour in the length of their body. So if they want it, you're not getting it away. It's not happening. Yeah, it's not happening.
Blast, if you can reel too fast, and you will never be able to out-reel them.
No.
No matter what reel ever comes out, might as well turn on the outboard and haul, because that's the only way you're going to beat them.
I think I did that with Sylvia James one time. Same type of thing. How can folks get a hold of you? I'm going to put up a little bit of information here. It's got a graphic, and all it really has is your Instagram connection on it. That's what you provided for us. If you want to provide a little bit deeper information, feel free to. Now's the time to do it. And let's see if we can motivate some people to get a hold of you. Those eastern Wisconsin lakes, folks, are western Wisconsin lakes, folks. I'm telling you. All up and down that whole side of the state, there's a bunch of honey holes over there that don't get beat up. They don't get pounded, and there's some seriously big fish.
Oh, yeah, there's some monsters out there. So the best way to get directly hold of me is my phone. The number for my phone is 715-441-4662.
Say it again. Say it again.
715-441-4662.
4662. I'll tell you, the only thing we haven't gotten out of this conversation yet is an invite to come fish with you. That's the only thing. I don't know.
Anytime. You let me know when and I'll be ready.
I love western Wisconsin lakes. And I'm sitting here holding back because I could name off a bunch of them with a lot of really good fish in it they're small in scope, and which means you can go in if the lake's on, you're going to know it pretty quick, and that's fun. Oh yeah, I'm sure you know most of my lakes right off the top of your head. Yeah, I got probably a couple.
Yeah.
But let's leave that up to the listeners. Go ahead.
Another way to contact me is my email, which is bigstrikemike50@gmail.com.
bigstrikemike50@gmail.com.
Yep. And then my Instagram is bigstrikemike_guide_service.
That we have up on the screen. Yep.
Yep. You can contact me through any one of those, and I'll get right back to you.
Hey, I'd be honest with you. I think you're onto something here. You're young, you're ambitious, you've focused on a fish that's a niche fish, no doubt about it. But it's a fish with growing popularity. It's not a withering on the vine fish, if you will. There's a lot of people out there that want to catch these things. And with young people like you that have the stamina, when you get to be my age, that casting, well, you feel it pretty quick. And at your age, man, you could beat the water to a froth. And get the right people in the boat with you, I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun. Mike, I want to say thanks for coming on the show. And seriously, you got my number. You know how to get a hold of me.
All right, I will. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you get on some big fish, you get some more stuff, feel free to get a hold of us, and we'll bring people up to date on more about what you're doing out there, because it's nice to see young people get into this game. When I first got into it, I was older. Well, no, I was 13 when I caught my first fish, but I entered the game professionally back in 1982. And I had people when I did that literally said, you don't have nearly the experience necessary to make a living with this. And really, 37 years later, now 40 years later, I've been blessed. And I think you could be on the same course. So I wish you the best, young man. I really do. And stay in touch with us. How's that sound?
I sure will. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good night.
You bet. Bye-bye. The one Bob Mehsikomer here. I got a question. What's the hottest thing in your boat during prime muskie conditions? If you're like me, it's Grant Big Dog Rods. Talk to the big dog himself. Call him at 847-577-0848. Don't let your lack of success be the death of your fishing. Check out Grim Reaper Lures, spinnerbaits, and bucktails. Call them at 610-593-2492 or look them up on the internet at grimreaperlures.com. Alrighty, everybody, give me a second here. Let's pull up our next guest. We have somebody that's really going to excite you. It's just really fun. I'm dialing the number right now. I hope that he's there. We'll find out. This is live. It is not Memorex. It is the real McCoy. So let's see if we can get him. Indeed. Oh, no. Oh, no. Let's try him again. Let's try him again. We're going to try him one more time. Aha. I know he's at the shop, so.
Hello, Bob.
Joe, that be you?
That's me, sir.
All righty. Hey, folks, we got Joe Walczak on the phone right now. I'm gonna let Joe tell you a little bit about what's going on here. But you got to understand that he is very instrumental in saving part of the industry. Joe, give us a backdrop on what you're doing, and or would you like me to bring a little bit of the story up first? That's up to you.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. I'll let you.
All righty.
It's your show. You do it.
All righty.
Set it up.
I appreciate that wholeheartedly. Folks, you probably don't know, but there is an outfit on the shores, or was an outfit of the shores of Pewaukee that was literally a landmark. And if you were a muskie fisherman ever going through that part of the state, we're talking eastern Wisconsin, you obviously had to stop in and see the gentleman that run that shop, and his name was John Layman. Now, I will tell you this. On one of my occasions of being in John's store, I told John, you're the only person in Wisconsin that can catch a muskie. And he looked at me and he goes, what do you mean? I said, you're the only one in the state that can spell muskie. You Wisconsin guys spell it with a Y. We Minnesota guys spell it with an IE. John decided to do it the right way and spell it with IE. Smokey's Muskie Shop, folks. If you've ever been around Lake Pewaukee or any around the sports shows, Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, you more than likely have run into the charismatic John Layman. The problem is John passed away December 26, 2016, leaving his wife a business which I don't know whether she knew much about, if anything at all. And that being said, it needed some help. And there's a couple of people that have stepped up to make that help possible. And that's who we've got on the phone, one of those two people. Take it over, Joe. Finish the story.
All right. Well, Loie actually used to run the Smokey's bait shop on the east end of the lake. So she knew about the business. She didn't understand the muskie lure side of it. There was a group of us that were working the shop when John passed away. And we took a couple years and really decided, you know what, we're going to help her out. We're going to keep this going. And the whole storyline is kind of threefold. Yes, it's a historical venue on the shores of Pewaukee Lake. They've owned it for 32 years, and it's grown over the last several. In a sense of what we have to offer the fishermen that come in. The second part of it is keeping John's legacy going. I mean, what he's done for the sport down here on Pewaukee Lake, I mean, the stories are endless with the stocking, the badges and buddies, helping out kids, guides coming through, and of course, most importantly, the customers, keeping them happy, keeping them coming back. What we kind of did was we really sat back over the last handful of years. Before John passed away, we sat down with him. We wanted to bring in lures that were conducive for the waters that were down here. We had a lot of stuff on the shelves guys wanted for Canada, and a lot of stuff just didn't move. So it took a couple years to kind of set it all up. And the first part of the plan was we wanted to kind of reclaim our backyard and have those customers coming back to us that had been for years that kind of faded away. Last year was an integral year in starting that with that whole concept, and this year the guys at the shop, Craig Ader's managing the shop, and between all of us with all of our connections, the people we know in the industry, we really set it up so that we have stuff in the shop that people can actually go online and buy from other places. We brought that to the shop and put it right in front of their faces. It's in their hands, and they buy it. Custom colors. I mean, the lure selection, lures the shop has never had before, we've brought in. We really cater to our customers with homegrown talent. Some of the local bait companies, you get Bite Back, Angry Dragon, Slammer, Bill Schwartz from Slammer. It's been just a solid mainstay at the shop. Boo Buck, Bucktails, Rocky Point, some other new ones that we brought in were the Whale Tails that are they're not brand new, but they're with Dave Brown now, I believe. Came out and kind of took it to a new level. One of the things about Pewaukee Lake is it's always been a really good bass lake. And the old story goes that the bass fishermen on the lake always caught more muskie than the muskie fishermen. It's really true. The trollers, a lot of the casters are downsizing in lure size, and because the fish are attracted to that. And this year, really in particular, one of the bait companies that I wanted to bring into the shop last year, it didn't work out that way. But we brought them in full bore this year, was Grim Reaper Lures. Kevin and Cheryl, out in, I believe, Pennsylvania. What a lure company. What a lure. I mean, we've had, literally 4 full orders from them, I believe, this year. We just got our 4th one now. We can't keep them on the shelves. Guys are just totally digging the stuff that we've brought in. The different rod companies that we brought in. I know you and I talked, we're going to look at that one too. Just the whole demeanor of the shop has changed to the point that, as far as I can recollect, this year is beyond any year that the shop has ever had. The customers are just ecstatic. They keep coming back. And again, the guys working the shop, they're having fun. They're having a ton of fun. We're working with these people and helping them out on the lakes that are down here by us.
Well, you guys you've got a really good fishery right out your back door there. There's no question about
absolutely.
That. And you mentioned a company that we work with here on the show, Grim Reaper, and it's really nice to hear that the people are cuddling up to that bait, because it has there's a lot of value in it, especially with the way they make them. All the blade variations, the weight variations. They've got names on them, and I will be the first to tell you that I'm not a name person. Heck, I made lures for years, and I can't remember the names we made of them. But I can tell you this, seriously, but I can tell you this, they catch fish. Fact is, Casey missed a fish on Mille Lacs the other day on a Grim Reaper spinnerbait, and I wish I could show you the footage. She made me get rid of it, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I think she's hooked too. But yeah, Grim Reaper does a really good job, and they make a really nice lure, and they've got pricing. Their pricing is amazing. It really is. Yes, it is. Very affordable bait, and it produces. It does. And you were talking about rods. You guys have a wide selection of rods in the store. Even though when I talked to you, I did mention there's a rod you might want to look at. It's not necessarily an entry-level rod, but if you want the best stick on the planet, that's probably a good one to look at. So I would suggest we're going to look at it. Yeah, open up and we'll look at it. But my hat's off to you guys. One thing you didn't mention when you mentioned John, and I know there's so many accolades to him that it's impossible to have them all, but he was instrumental in making sure the public had access to that lake. Yeah. People
yes.
Yeah, people don't realize it. When lake associations and owners around lakes will tend to try to block off everybody from coming on their lake for whatever reason. They want it to themselves, early morning Saturday traffic, or whatever the case may be, they don't like it. John was out there fighting tooth and nail to keep access, valid, good access to the lake. And that is so important. He will never be forgotten for that. Never.
That's a fact. I mean, I've been through some of it over the last couple of years. They would do anything to get that property.
Yeah.
And use it and close it off, like you said. I can see business buildings or a couple of apartment complexes sitting right there on the lake where all that stuff is. It can't go anywhere. I mean, this is what Smokey's Muskie Shop is to me. It's a sanctuary. It's a safe haven. It's a congregating entity where people come for the camaraderie. I mean, we have a muskie league that's there every week. We have a couple of tournaments a year. I mean, they just come right out of there. Guys, if storms hit on the water, where are they coming? They're coming to Smokey's if they can get there. They got a place to go into. They got shelter. It's to me, the biggest thing is, and we got some pretty good sticks that work at the shop. I mean, these guys fish pretty hardcore most of the time. And to check your ego at the door and care about the customers coming through it and help them out and not put yourself on their level, but make it so that they understand what you're saying and you put them on fish. And to have a 15-year-old kid come back to the shop the next day with his dad and say, "Hey, that lure that you sold me, look at the picture of this fish," and you see a 43-inch fish, and the kid's grinning ear to ear. That's what it's about. It's about taking care of the customers and keeping this train rolling on the tracks.
It is totally about that, because, again, we go back to the same theme that we started the show with tonight, young. If
right.
We're going to preserve our fishery, and I'm talking about from access to tackle to tradition, we have to bring on young people. We can't leave the young people lie out there wondering, well, what is this really all about? And I got a shot of you right now with a young man with a beautiful fish, and you cannot pay for that smile. You can't.
Oh no.
You can't buy that smile. You can't simply can't do it.
I can tell you, I'm sure you've gone through it too, and a lot of other guides and fishermen with dads with young sons or daughters. That kid, they were out with me for 3 outings. That kid lost 5 fish during the first 2 outings, and that fish right there was one cast. He hooked it 10 feet from the boat, and it was in the net seconds later. Yep. He cried in my arms. He was shaking. His dad cried, taping it. I mean, it was, how do I not cry? I was bawling right along with him. That's when you know you got somebody for life.
Exactly. Whether they're coming back to you personally, you know they're locked to the sport, and that's
right.
That's critical. It's what it's all about. All right, let's touch on what's going on the eastern side of the state, the southeastern side of the state, maybe northern Illinois. What tricks, tactics are working right now? What are people doing to find these fish? You guys are way beyond us up here in terms of season. What are they doing to catch fish?
Oh, we're kind of running the gamut still. I mean, it's water temps are high 60s, low 70s. The last couple of days I was out, we had them in the low 70s. It's going to heat up. We got warm weather coming, but really to start the year for these first 6 weeks that we've had, it's been just about everything. I mean, we hear the stories coming in the shop. What we've done on the lake, trolling, small baits has been turning on over the last week to 10 days. Bucktails and spinner baits is starting to go, especially in the shallows. Over the weeds, we still have a lot of brown weeds, especially on Pewaukee Lake. But when you find the green weeds and you start seeing the cabbage coming up really nice, those are gold mines. Just stay. You're going to walk into fish. Yeah. Crankbaits, if you twitch them, that's been working. Small ones, twitching them through the weeds. You know, as soon as you feel that tick of the weed, you rip it. The glide baits, Warlocks have been great. A lot of people have been catching fish now. One of the things, and this is, I'm old school. I grew up on the Chippewa flowage. That's where I cut my teeth. Muskie fish, learning how to muskie fish, starting guiding. But suics have been outstanding this year down here.
I think suics are a forgotten gem. Suics
absolutely they are. Yeah. There are so many people. I mean, you see all these high-priced baits and all that. Not that they're not good. They're good baits. But the flip side of it is, you got to remember, these are the guys that pretty much started this stuff. I mean, Meps, suic, and it still works. Yeah. That's what I don't understand. I mean, I think I have like 25 of them in my tackle box. And we pull them out and use them. I mean, but the old school stuff still works. But the topwater's starting. We've got a lot of baby ducks and goslings floating around.
Having less and less every day.
Less and less every day. That's right.
Another sleeper bait. I'm sure you probably have them. I don't know, but the bobby bait. That's another bait that can tore up some fish. Just absolutely. And I would imagine you probably have your hands around reef hogs someplace.
Yep.
I mean, these are the traditional baits that we grew up with in the 60s and 70s, you know. But and it's not that they're coming back. They've never gone anywhere. You know, they've always been here. And it's an amazing thing. I would imagine if somebody's on the water on Pewaukee and they're having a rough day, they can always come in and see you folks for a little heads-up information. Would that be something
Absolutely.
that you can invite them to do? So
we look forward to people doing that. That's
great.
Awesome.
Superb. While we've got this up, why don't you give us, I've got the graphic up for you, why don't you give us the phone number and everything, go ahead, spill it out, and let people know how to get a hold of you. Website, web address, all of the above.
All right, Smokey's Muskie Shop on Pewaukee Lake. Phone number is 262-691-9659. The website is Smokey's Muskie Bait and Tackle.com. Muskie with an IE in there.
You bet.
We are open during the week 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on the weekends 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Call us anytime during that, and doesn't matter who's working. Everybody can help you find some fish and figure out what's going on if you're having problems.
That's amazing. I mean, that is really, you know, you guys are kind of like Thorne Brothers, you know, over here in the Twin Cities. You know, Thorne Brothers is kind of the religious institution, if you will, as well. There's a vast group of people in there with huge knowledge, and they'll share. And I know you guys are doing the same thing, and that's what muskie fishing really is all about. It's about letting everybody know how great the sport is, where you can do it, and what you can do it on. Because these fish, they're singular in their feeding habits. They're very particular in what they do, and they're a very curious creature. So having an edge, be it here or there, can make all the difference between net and no net. And it sounds like, to me, like you guys got a handle on that.
I think so. I think we've done a pretty good job. Like I said, the guys work in the shop, and over the last handful of years, every one of them has played an integral part in where we are right now with Smokies.
Anything you want to say going out? We're about to go to a commercial break. Anything you want to say?
No. You know what? In the immortal words of John Layman, only at Smokies, God bless.
Well, I have some more immortal words for you. You guys are doing an awesome job. Keep the sport alive. Keep Smokies alive.
Thank you, Bob.
It's our pleasure to let people know that Smokies is there and to bring you guys up into the new world, if you will. Look forward to seeing you at a sports show this year if we can get this COVID stuff all sorted out.
If you ever make it down by us, Bob, you let me know, and I'll make sure that we get out on the water.
Hey, we'll do just that. With that being said, thanks for coming on the show, and enjoy the rest of the night. Talk to you later.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Alrighty, you bet. Hi, everyone. Bob Mehsikomer here. Don't let your lack of success be the death of your fishing. Check out Grim Reaper Lures, spinnerbaits, and bucktails. Call them at 610-593-2492 or look them up on the internet at grimreaperlures.com. Hi everyone, Bob Mehsikomer here. Hey, I got a question. What's the hottest thing in your boat during prime muskie conditions? If you're like me, it's Gramp Big Dog Rods. Talk to the big dog himself. Call him at 847-577-0848. Alrighty, we're back at it. We're going to dial up our next guest. This guy, we've had him on the show earlier this year, and I'm telling you right now, he's a walking book of knowledge. And he called me up the other day and he said there's something going on Lake Michigan, and that's in our backyard. So knowing that Lake Michigan is in our backyard and he's doing something over there. Have we got Mike? Do we have Mike?
I am here.
Oh, Mike, do me a favor. Pull down your audio in the background, please.
Okay.
All righty. Mike Lunde, everybody. We're going to be talking about trolling flies. Now, yes, trolling flies. He's been pounding me with information lately about what he's doing out there, and quite frankly, it's pretty interesting. He's got a setup. I'll let him go into what he's doing because he's matching the hatch, which is critical. Mike, take it away. Tell us what we need to know about the Great Lakes and your flies and how you're doing it.
All right, so if anyone's familiar with fishing any of the 5 Great Lakes, the most dominant, bait fish present is obviously alewives. And they're not native, obviously. They're invasive. They swim up the St. Lawrence, downstream of the St. Lawrence Seaway, and invaded Lake Ontario. They eventually worked their way through all the Great Lakes, and it became a huge problem. They winded up on beaches in like Chicago, Milwaukee, and other major cities, whether the Great Lakes, Washington beaches, became a huge problem. So that's when they decided to introduce steelhead and salmon, primarily salmon, as a biocontrol method, to keep alewives in control. So, being that said, with alewives being the main forward fish, that's when trolling the Great Lakes became the primary method for catching them and opened up that multi-billion-dollar sport fishery. And methods, the primary methods have been, using downriggers and dipsy divers, the troll spoons, crankbaits, jade plugs, bait rigs on occasion, similar tactics used on the West Coast. But what amazes me is flies. I've been fishing the Great Lakes for over 20 years, over 25 years, and I've noticed that there's not been a huge change or trend in flies I witnessed. Like the Hawley Fly, for example, Hawley Fly is probably one of the staple chases for producing huge Chinook, and it still works to this day. And it's a huge hunk of flash and tinsel tied on a sliding tube that's rigged with a couple beads and snelled to an octopus hook or treble hook, and then ran at about a 24 to 30-inch lead in a flasher. So over this past year, I really wanted to take my fly design and open up a line of trolling flies and really field test these things. So the Bucktail Deceiver is probably one of the classic bait fish patterns of all time, and I wanted to design these specifically to be used in a tube. So after catching some alewives, sampling some alewives from stomachs of Chinooks caught earlier this spring, they're measuring about between 6.5 inches, in some cases 7. That's a very big alewife. So I decided to, match the hatch fly fishing style and just tie these squids and other alewife-like bait fish patterns in about between 5 and 7 inches in length, which is for the age of an alewife. It's about an age 6, age 7 fish. And if they make it to that long, that's a pretty big alewife. That's 6 inches long. And that's a huge protein item huge nutritional item for a large king salmon, which can be pushing 25, 30, 35 plus pounds. So over the course of the last month or so, I've been field testing these things in Lake Michigan, and they've been working very, very well. they've actually been outproducing my spoons and crankbaits to the point where with even bait rigs. And you think a meat rig of all things would outproduce anything, but some of these flies have been working the best. So how I tie these things is pretty cool. So I use a large diameter tube that's about 1/8 inch in diameter, and then it attaches into a tube fly vise or tube fly adapter, and then I just tie in about 2 schlappan feathers on each side in white, and then I use bucktail on the top, this classic dark colors like combinations of black and purple or royal blue, and the bottom is white for the underbelly. And then once I get close to the end of the tube, I throw on a type of flashaboo called lateral scale flash. It's a larger diameter flash, but segmented. It comes in different color combinations, but my favorite colors to use are blue and black and pearl and chartreuse. And once that's done, I throw in a hen saddle feather for a cheek, and then just mold in some 3D eyes with a UV resin, with a thick and a thin UV resin, and to make sure the thread wraps are cemented really for security, extra security. I just put them outside under the direct sunlight for a little bit and dries them up, and they last a long time. And here's the beauty about these trolling tube flies is it's not just the action of water. But when a salmon strikes it, it rides up the main leader, and then the hook stays embedded in the fish's mouth. So that way the fly can be used multiple times, versus like traditionally fly fishing when you just use a standard hook. At some point, the fly doesn't get destroyed. Think of a toothy predator like pike or muskie. You tie a well-designed, beautiful pattern. If it lasts 2 fish, it's probably going to get destroyed because that's what they do. But that's the nice thing about this tube fly system is that it rides up the main leader. It doesn't get destroyed. And it's a combination of the flasher. It spins 306 degrees. It gives that fly the extra action.
So do you find these color patterns to be mimicking quite well the alewife that you're talking about? The blue. I'm certain that at some point in the life of the alewives, when they're in the light, in natural lighting, they're going to get this iridescent blues and stuff off their body. Correct?
Correct. Yep, you're absolutely correct.
So you're using all this information when you compile the materials you're putting in the flies themselves. What? And I know you as a person. I've known you for a long time, and I know you fished from Alaska to who knows where. And that being said, you're trolling these things, which I think is unique. That's totally different than what we have been doing.
Yeah, the cool thing about trolling flies is, like I said, like the peanut fly and the Hawley Fly are the 2 classic flies. Peanut flies are the smaller version of a Hawley Fly. It's really specifically directed at targeting coho salmon, and they sit around 2.5 inches in length. They're trolled behind smaller flashers and dodgers with a shorter leader. The Hawley Fly is a classic tinsel flash fly. It produces a lot of flash, what draws the salmon in to strike it. But there's times where sometimes too much flash might spook them. So I think that's the advantage with tying your own flies. You can incorporate minimal flash, just a little bit, or a lot of flash.
And you're also playing with a tube fly, which is doesn't seem to have a lot of flash on it at all.
No, it doesn't. Even the squid patterns I tie up are on. The squids have all the flashes just located in the back. The only other flashy material is just the mylar flashy tubing. That's which is the mantle for the squid.
Yeah, these things are they're really kind of docile in color. How far back are we running them? How far down are we trying to get them? From a presentation perspective, what are we trying to accomplish?
That's a very good question there, Bob. What I first do is I have a fish hawk on my boat, which is really good for finding the right water temperature and managing your trolling speed at the downrigger ball. Now, here's the thing. Like, my favorite fish to target on Lake Michigan are definitely king salmon. They're my number 1 favorite fish out of anything. And I look for water temperatures between 41, 44 degrees. That's usually the temperature preferred for bigger king salmon. And then once I find that, that's going to be my driving point for where I find the right depth. So I usually, the deeper depths, my deepest setting, I put closer to the boat, maybe 10 to 20 feet out. And then I may experiment run some other ones about maybe as far as 50 to 80, 90 feet behind the boat for a shallower setting.
Now, are you doing these actually on fly rod setups? Are we doing them on spinning or, trolling tackle? What tackle are we using?
Typical trolling rods. Most of my downrigger rods are 7.5 to 9 foot ugly stick tiger rods, and just big ugly stick rods and some Mehsikomer. So you basically want a really good fiberglass composite rod. It's got really, really good flex.
So the actual rod you're using is an application tool. The fly that you're using is the contact tool, and that's where the difference is coming in, is making contact with that fish in the column. Mm-hmm. So amazing. I mean, what happens now? This is a jump cut, but what happens in the fall when those super big kings come in tight? You still doing the same thing?
Still doing the same thing, and here's the interesting thing. So as those king salmon inch their way closer to the harbor, they're going to stop feeding at some point. They will still feed on alewives and occasionally, rainbow smelt. They're out there too.
Yeah, they have a different reason for being there. Yep.
But when they get closer to the harbor, the flies are still going to work with consistency. But I feel like earlier for the time period of May through early August is when it works best. When you get later into like middle end of August, especially into September, the fish are solely focused on reproduction. So when a strike occurs, it's not based on foraging efficiency or foraging. It's more territorial aggression.
Okay.
So that's when crankbaits and J plugs and quick fishes and stuff like that, sometimes trolled at really fast speeds. Really,
more reactionary stuff. Not so much
exactly. And vertical jigging. Vertical jigging with salt plastics, hair jigs, and even using bait, like salmon roe and skein on floats suspended just off the bottom in the river mouths is great for shore fishermen. That's when they're relying on olfaction sometimes for a strike reaction.
Well, let's get you back in the fall. Let's hope that people get a hold of you. Mike, I got some information up on you. If you want, I've got your phone number is up. If you want to put more than that up, now be the time to do it. Again, you share with us this vast knowledge of information. I've never trolled flies for the cold water fish, but it does sound like it would be fun. And you can see by the evidence, it works quite well.
I really wanted to construct 100%. I mean, I look at it this way. Look at a Hawley Fly or a peanut fly and compare it to mine. I mean, I'm not giving any negative criticism of those flies. They still work to this day and they catch big fish. But it's like with anything, with like conventional side, with musky lures, with trolling, with crankbaits, anything. Same with flies. The more realistic you can make perfect a pattern, achieve that perfection of realism, you would think in theory it should get blasted.
Right.
And that was my concept with these trolling flies. I wanted to create a line of trolling flies that could be so realistic that it should produce more strikes than something with a Hawley Fly. Like you hold a Hawley Fly side by side next to one of these baitfish tube flies I made. There's no debating which is more realistic looking. And
that's amazing.
Like I said, so far they've performed very well. Like on Friday, we produced 4 king salmon between 10 and 20 pounds and lost 2 other giants on these things in less than 2 hours. I didn't even throw a spoon out or a bait rig on a flasher, which all work very effectively. Every lure in place has its place and time, but I'm continuing to hammer these things hard and find good results. And now I'm getting charter captains up and down the Lake Michigan coast and on the Wisconsin-Michigan side that want these things, and they're submitting orders. So it's really cool. It keeps me busy,
Superb.
So
Super. Well, I wish you the best. We're going to get out of here. We got a commercial break to get out of here. We're running close to the end of the show. I want to say one more thing to the audience before we do. But, Mike, thanks for coming on the show and sharing this information with us. I'm serious when I say I've known you for a long time, and the information that you bestow upon people is very valuable. You fish uniquely different than I do, which I find entertaining and interesting. And I'm sure there's people over there on the big ponds, whether it's Michigan or any one of the other lakes, that have these fish also respect the same thing. So if you would, please accept my thanks for being on the show, and let's do it again.
Definitely. Thanks, Bob.
All righty. We'll see you later.
So far.
All righty. Hey, folks, like I said when I come on the show, Brother Mike, Uncle Buddy is in the hospital, motorcycle accident. So if you throw up a comment or two in the comments section, if he's watching the show, I alerted him that we would be on. Don't know if he is or isn't, but I'm certain he'll read them after the fact. So take a couple of seconds and wish Uncle Buddy the best. He's a great human being. I want to say thanks to our sponsors who make it possible. I want to say thanks to all our guests tonight. We had a young guest that is out in Washington State. I don't think you realize the time difference. We'll get him on a future show because really we have to get young people involved in this sport. If we don't, it's just not being cliche. If we don't, we are losing the battle, period. Get them away from the computers, get them away from the games, get them off of the skateboards and all this kind of stuff and get them in a boat. That's what you need to do. That being said, folks, God bless. Thank our sponsors. With that being said, we're going to go out of here tonight with just one more message from the people who make it possible. This is Bob Mehsikomer with 5 at 5 Live tonight saying please share it, please tell your friends, please help us grow. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Right here, same time, same place. Hi everyone, Bob Mehsikomer here. Don't let your lack of success be the death of your fishing. Check out Grim Reaper Lures, spinnerbaits, and bucktails. Call them at 610-593-2492 or look them up on the internet at grimreaperlures.com. Hi everyone, Bob Mehsikomer here. Hey, I got a question. What's the hottest thing in your boat during prime muskie conditions? If you're like me, it's Gramp Big Dog Rods. Talk to the big dog himself. Call him at 847-577-0848.